Hello?
Hi, Angie, we can hear you.
Angie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We have Angie Rasikh, member of the board, who has just joined us. We're going to wait for a few minutes to let the people in, and then I'll give you the floor so you can make the welcoming remarks. Thank you, Angie.
Welcome, Nadia.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce Angie Rasikh, member of the board, who's going to do the welcoming remarks, and then give the floor to Nadia Kholy, who's going to kick off the webinar and the discussion. Angie, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Just a moment, sorry. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you in our today's event, The Future of Digitalization in Education, Step Towards Achieving Vision 2020. It is my pleasure to welcome you to, represents actually the last session of the Virtual Education Week organized by BEIBA. We held informative sessions yesterday on investment in education and ways to build human capital to generate value. Today's webinar covers the future of digitalization in education, which has been the target of many investments from both the public and private sectors. I would like to welcome our panelists joining us today. We start by Dr. Ashraf Abdelwahab, who is the Digital Transformation Director, IVE Public Sector SAP Egypt, Ms. Doaa Farag, Operations and Development Manager, Vodafone Egypt Foundation, Dr. Ahmed Tolba, Professor of Computer Science, Faculty of Computer and Information, Mansoura University. Our session will be moderated by Professor Nadia Kholy, who is a Senior Consultant at Knowledge Wings. I would like to thank our sponsors for their continuous support. We have our platinum sponsors, which are Suwaidi Education, HSBC Bank Egypt, and Tatweer Masr. Our gold sponsors are Honoris United Universities, Ken College, Misr Insurance Holding Company, Ta'aleem Management Services, and Vodafone. And our event partners are Bomb to Care, CIB Egypt, Polaris Parks, and QMB El Ahli. I leave now the floor to our moderator, Professor Nadia Kholy, and hope you enjoy today's discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for opening the session, Angie, and thank you, BEIBA, for giving us this opportunity to discuss the future of digitalization of education in Egypt. I would like to start with an academic. So let me start with Professor Ahmed Tolba to tell us about his experience in teaching online, especially that he also comes from the public sector, the National University of Mansoura. And I think we're going to benefit a lot from what he's going to tell us about, let's say, the pros and cons of online learning, distant learning, and so on. So I give the floor to Professor Ahmed Tolba.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me for this session. Regarding our experience with online education or distance learning, or it has a lot of names. In Mansoura University, in the last semester, we had very strong experience with online learning and teaching also. In Mansoura University, we had to record all the lectures in video, submit it to online on the learning management system together with the lab experiments. As you know, we are in a practical faculty in the Faculty of Computing and Information. And I think there is a lot of advantages and disadvantages in this regard. The faculty members at Mansoura University as a whole faced many problems because of the weak infrastructure, communication infrastructure. This was a problem. The other problem is that there are many faculty members who are not so comfortable with the learning management system and video recording and these things. Another problem is that many students يعني, are not so serious in dealing with the recorded video lectures, and they are not to see يعني, they didn't take the learning process in a serious way. They had let us say they are not familiar with the online learning process, and I think we have to spend a lot of time to bring them on board. Yeah. By the end, I think this experience of online education has many problems, and we have to take our time to launch this online learning process in a proper way. Yesterday, for example, we had the final project discussion, final year project discussion and delivery. And I found that many student groups were so lazy because they relied, there is no confrontation face to face or face to face discussions with the faculty members. And I think the major problem relied on the epidemic, coronavirus epidemic. They thought that we are all in trouble because of the coronavirus affair, and they thought we have to be more flexible with them, and we have to help them to bypass this year. And this was a big reason for their laziness, and they didn't take the problem, the educational problem, seriously. This was a major problem. Yeah. Although we started e-learning in Mansoura University since 2003, let us say it is 17 years old. The online learning process was introduced there, and we had studios for production of video lectures, and we had a learning management system, but it was not used fully like these days. Let us see, I'm not happy with the outcome, although from my point of view, I am a fan of e-learning, and I was a leader of e-learning in Egypt from 2003. I was the director of the e-learning center in the Supreme Council of University in the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Education. And I was the director of the ICTB project, Information and Communication Technology project. And by the end, I was the director of Education Project Management Unit in the Supreme Council of Universities. as a whole in Egypt. يعني we still need a lot of work, or يعني يعني let me express it in Arabic. Maybe it's easier for me because all my study was in Germany. let us say يعني الطلبة يعني ما خدوش الموضوع بجد. يعني هم حاسين ان احنا في كورونا، وان البلد كلها في أزمة، وان احنا يجب ان نتساهل معاهم، وفي نفس الوقت بقى احنا حاسين بالأزمة والمشكلة، فعايزين الموضوع يعدي بأي شكل من الأشكال. فدي هي المشكلة الحقيقية اللي خلتنا نصل إلى الكونكلوجن السيئة أو الليزينس application of online learning أو distance education, name it as you want. مع ان انا كنت يعني مسؤول عميد كلية الحاسبات والمعلومات في الجامعة العربية المفتوحة في الكويت في 8 دول، وكنا بنعمل open education. كان it was 75% online learning and 25% face-to-face meetings, and everything went so smoothly, and we obtained the validation from the Open University UK. It was an excellent experience actually, but I think the corona pandemic was the reason behind this bad experience which we experienced in the last semester or the last years. If there is any يعني notice or comment, you are most welcome.
Yes, I think let us listen to our colleagues, and then we'll have all the comments at the end. But let us now move to Mr. Ashraf, because I think what Dr. Ahmed mentioned about that we are still not quite ready in terms of either the faculty, they need more training, they need more orientation, and also the students, I totally agree that they did not take us seriously. And it was for them, برضو هستخدم بالعربي كلمة occasion، إنه the format of the exam changed to bubble sheet, which does not work with a lot of faculties. I come from the humanities sector, so it's very difficult to have an exam about, for example, Shakespeare and Hamlet, and it's all multiple choice. So there were huge problems. I'm not going to go into them now. Let me keep my comments till the end. And I would like to hear about maybe some optimism, some hope from Mr. Ashraf Abdelwahab. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Nadia and Dr. Ahmed. Thank you for your speech. Quite interesting. I'm Ashraf Abdelwahab. I'm with SAP, the Digital Transformation Director. I had different hats. I used to be in the government, the Egyptian government, for some time, and at the same time, I am professor of AI in the research community in Egypt, in the Electronics Research Institute. So I understand, of course, what's going on in the academia and the universities. My son, he's doing his master's, now his PhD in the US, and they face similar problems, not the same problems, but similar problems. Of course, there is a problem in the culture of the relationship between the student and the faculty member. We used to have this parent-son relationship where they have to come and sit in front of the lecture, do their work, and they have to face them again. So there is some sort of a relationship to fulfill, which is not the case in many of the platforms available for e-learning, especially when you're delivering video and there is no interaction or interactive sessions between the instructor and the students themselves. So this is an important thing. Another thing, as Dr. Nadia mentioned, is that occasion or sana mutaddi. It's not actually, it's not the case. It's more of the new norm of life. This is how life is going to be in the future. Why? Because as we see it, COVID-19 is transforming, and every couple of months we have a new form of the virus. So things are not kind of stable in terms of the health conditions in the world. So we might be more and more remote and work more and more remotely. At the same time, when you talk about education, of course, we have the education, the K-12 and the universities education, but you also have the lifelong education of workers and employees, and everyone should learn throughout his life. Otherwise, he or she will die. So the process of learning itself is transforming to be more remote and rely more on content that's available remotely, either static content that you just read or interactive content where you have to face and meet the instructor face to face. Another important aspect of the remote world is the assessment. When you talk about education, how we assess people. We used to assess the students in a similar manner to the way we did it in the paperwork, in the paper world. We have to find out new tools that allow for assessments that can measure more accurately the skills and knowledge acquisition of the students. Like Dr. Nadia mentioned, for example, I cannot rely on MCQ exams when I talk about English literature, for example. We need to type something, we need to read, to put some words, and someone should read these words and start to grade them or understand how much knowledge did the student acquired and understood from the curriculum. So having the right assessment tool is very important. It's not just to use MCQs and true and false and these kind of questions, but we have to have the right assessment tools. And this is something, maybe if we talk about SAP, this is something that SAP is providing. Question mark is the tool that allows for 21 types of questions, including writing text in the questions. And of course, you can do it. You can do the grading automatically if you give the tool some sort of feedback. What are the words that you would like to see in the answers, or you just do it yourself as instructor. You read it yourself and you grade the question based on what you have seen from the user, from the students' input. So this is something that is really important to have when you talk about assessment, because it makes the assessment more critical and more realistic, if we can say so, talking to students. So this is an important thing. Assessment tools, the right assessment tools should be there. The right delivery model. Of course, when you talk about remote assessment, this is hard because we cannot be completely sure that the guy who is sitting doing the exam is the right student, or he does not use extra or external support from someone or a book or something. So we have to have different models for delivery, whether within the center, that's many universities do that, or we have to have a system whereby the student is completely monitored during the exam. And the exam is completely secure. So there is no way that I can upload or download or bring something from another location and use it as part of my answer to the exam. So this kind of different levels of delivering the exam and the assessments is also very important, and we should look into it in the next phases of our transformation, because it's something that will not stop here, and it's not just one semester and that's it. The third important thing is the student experience itself. When we talk about changing the way we are doing teaching, learning, education, then what is the experience of the student? How the student rates the relationship between himself, the instructor, the university, or the entity wherever he is working in for the exam of for the skill development, and how we can make it a successful relationship, if we say. So we can have the right input from the students about what they should see, what they want to have, and how we can deliver it from our side. And this complete assessment, the feedback loop of the user experience is very important in making the educational system more and more attractive to the students. The platforms themselves, the different platforms that are available, there are many platforms, and you have to use the one that is quite useful or relevant to the type of education you're providing. And for us, for example, in SAP, we have Litmus. This is our platform that we are using for different types of education and courses, and it allows a lot of analytics and a lot of ways of self-assessment and understanding which questions are better than others and which parts were quite well understood from the students against other parts of the curriculum. So I hope I don't want to take most of the time, but I hope these ideas are the ones I think that I think about when I talk about digitalization of education. Infrastructure is a challenge, security is a challenge, the cost of digitalization from the student point of view even is a challenge. We have different challenges here in Egypt. Adoption is a challenge, but we have to think holistically in the complete system, because it's not something that will pass after a year or two. It's something that we would like to build on and use it, and will be the new norm of education.
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf. Actually, you've put your finger on a lot of very crucial and very important problems that we are all facing. And I'm glad that you also agree with both of us, with Dr. Ahmed and myself, about the problem of culture, that there is a big issue about students and also about the whole administration, the whole structure needs to be revisited, and we need to give time for things to settle down. And as you said, we have to choose for every university, for every department, for every faculty, what is going to work with them. We cannot all be doing the same kind of model in exams, the same kind of teaching, the same kind of assessment. All this has not been studied yet. And I think that the Supreme Council of University, they have to sit down and start putting down a policy that will help the faculty, because we faced huge problems that maybe I will recap on at the end. And last but not least, now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Doaa from Vodafone, and she's going to tell us about the project of Ta'limi and other things, I'm sure. Go ahead. Thank you, Doaa.
Thank you, Dr. Nadia. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be speaking to you today to tell you about how we at Vodafone Egypt Foundation are contributing to Egypt Vision 2030 in the field of digitization in education. But first, let me just give you a brief about who we are and our strategy. Vodafone Egypt Foundation is one of the 27 local foundations around the world as part of Vodafone Group. We follow the Vodafone Group strategy of purpose-led Vodafone, focusing on building a digital society, inclusion for all, and the planet. And at Vodafone Egypt Foundation, for so many years, since our establishment in 2003, we've been focusing on the fields of education, making sure that we're providing equal access to high quality educational opportunities to all sectors of society, and especially as a foundation for the underprivileged students. Since 2003, we have done so many different projects in education, from eradicating illiteracy to renovating schools to training teachers as well. And then before 2019, and I have to say, just like Dr. Tolba, it's even before the pandemic hit, we were actually moving towards digital education. Before the schools were shut down, we were thinking of moving digital. At Vodafone, as a telecom company, and with our technological expertise and our brand reach of more than 44 million customers, we believe that we can achieve sustainability through technology and through digitization. Also believe in the power of technology together with humanity to create change. And we believe in the power of digital education to also change lives. And this is when Ta'limi, our education platform, came to life and was born towards the end of 2019. Ta'limi is a zero-rated digital education platform. It's targeting students, parents, and teachers. It came to life before Corona hit, but of course, when schools were shut down, it became more important than ever before to leverage on our digital expertise and our technological resources to be able to get Ta'limi to benefit as many students as possible. We launched, of course, we are a telecom company, so we're not an educational company, we're not a university, we're not a school, so we had to partner with the strongest content providers in Egypt to be able to provide students with the educational material they need to pursue their studies. So we partnered with Nahdat Masr Al-Adwa to have all of our Adwa content on Ta'limi. We have interactive teacher videos. We have question banks of all sorts of MCQs, true or false, even summaries or essays that they need to write. We have also different summaries of all the different subjects for all the age groups for students. In addition to education, just like we were mentioning lifelong learning, we believe that we also have a role to play to build the digital literacy skills of our students. And from here, we have different courses from sciences and engineering to robotics, programming, coding. And soon we're also launching fintech and research skills and web design and 3D design, so many different courses to enhance the digital literacy skills of our students to make sure that they have the skills needed to compete and to be up to date with the digitized world we're all living in now. In addition to that, we have a library of Arabic books on our platform, catering for all different age groups to improve the Arabic language skills of our students from all different age groups. In addition to that, of course, we believe that student is a very important role along with the parents and the teachers. So for parents, we also have a section for parents on our platform, helping them assess their children's learning abilities. So once you log in as a parent, you have an assessment to take that identifies where your children may have certain learning difficulties and what you need to do about them. We also have different courses for parents, like how to protect your children against cyberbullying, how to support children in their life, in their educational journey, how to build bonds with your child, and so forth. As all this is part of the child's development course. In addition to that, for teachers, we believe that for them to be up to date with all the digital skills and technological advancements that are taking place, we partnered with credible and global academic institutions like Florida Atlantic University and Franklin Covey to be able to provide teachers with the professional development courses that are free and also zero rated. So it does not, for all students, parents, and teachers, it does not take from their internet bundle when they watch these courses online. For teachers, we're providing them courses like the 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Educator by Franklin Covey. We're providing them with modules like virtual online training, active learning, classroom management, edutech, and so forth. And also to make sure that our teachers are also benefiting from these kinds of courses, we have graded assessments for them. So for the teacher, when they log in and they take the module, they need to go through a graded assessment and pass a certain grade to be able to take the certificate, whether from FAO or whether from the Atlantic University or whether from Franklin Covey, to make sure that they actually benefited from the online material we're providing them and that they will actually use it and benefit even more students and impact their educational journey as well. This is when it comes to the content that we are providing our target groups, but we also believe that we have a role to play in the whole ecosystem of the educational journey. This comes from the hardware, the connectivity, and the internet. So with different partnerships, like for example, with a partnership with the Ministry of Social Solidarity, we go to the different orphanages, we provide them with desktops, we provide them with connectivity, and we conduct training sessions to make sure that they benefit from the online resources we have on Ta'limi. In addition to that, we're also localizing a Vodafone Group program called the Instant Network Schools. in partnership with the UNHCR and the Ministry of Education, to be able to go to the schools where they have large number of refugees, to be able to also give them access to educational material and make them feel inclusive. We have so far localized this in 18 schools, where we create like sort of mini labs where there are desktops, tablets, projectors, speakers, everything that they need to encourage their digital education journey. We have trained around 1,300 teachers so far on using these tools and teaching through technology. In addition to, for these schools, we have reached around 6,000 refugees, in addition to 28,000 students. I totally agree with Dr. Tolba and Dr. Ashraf and Dr. Nadia when we say it's still a long journey. I have to say that there's still much more to be done in that area of digital education. We're taking, surely, I think, I don't want to say baby steps, but we're taking the right steps towards that kind of digital educational journey. Again, through digitization and the digital journey, I believe that we can reach many more people. So far, Taalimi is almost 1 year old, and we have managed to reach 1 million households in Egypt. And we believe through more content on Taalimi and through more partnerships, we can provide the necessary skills to build the 21st century global citizens, to be able to have the creativity, the innovation of studying differently, and to be able to prepare them with the skills needed to compete and to be productive citizens of society. So we're just taking the first steps to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doaa. This is extremely impressive. It's really, it's excellent. I mean, you've given us a lot of hope about reaching out to the community in its various social classes and so on. My question is that obviously you're more into schools.
Yes.
So it's not higher education, it's more into schools. Is that
yes.
right?
Yes, it's more into schools. Nevertheless, the kind of courses we have, so we have the education and the Arabic books, but the kind of courses we have, like the robotics, the engineering, web design, I think this kind of lifelong learning and skills that anyone can develop at any age.
Okay, that's very good to know. Thank you. Okay, maybe now we can open the floor for questions, and then I'm going to ask questions at the end, but let us give our audience a chance. So maybe the organizers, Nadia, we're inviting the audience to ask questions if they want. The Q&A.
Sure, if anyone has any question, they can write it in the Q&A down in the poll or raise their hands.
Okay, in the meantime, let me just pick on some of the points that were mentioned so far. I think we all agree that we're still new in terms of the digital age. We all agree that there are still problems, although there has been some very positive steps. Again, speaking from my platform, which is, as I said, the national universities, I think one of the main issues is that students, I'm talking about specifically the Faculty of Arts, Kholy al-Adab, because the Faculty of Arts, Cairo University, up till today, does not have any department with fees. So it's completely free education. So, and of course, we are situated in Giza. So we get a lot of students from various governorates that are close to the Giza district, which means that we get a lot of underprivileged students, which means that they don't have the ability, they don't have the means to have their own computers at home. With the pandemic, they couldn't even go to internet cafes. So basically, what we had to do is to print out whatever we were doing online and to make it available for them in their department so that they go and they pick up the lectures in a written form, which is, I mean, it was very difficult to do. it was also, we felt it was very unfair to the students because they didn't see us, there was no interaction, they were doing everything on their own. And the university should have provided smart classrooms for the students to go and use computers at the university, like the internet cafe, because they just don't have the money to have laptops, to have desktops, to, it was just a huge, huge obstacle. So I think this is something that has to be addressed by the government, because as you see with tertiary education, with school education, the ministry provided tablets to students. They also have the knowledge bank. So there were a lot of channels for the students to be able to learn. But with the university, this is a major problem. Another problem, of course, with the practical universities is that in departments where they are doing experiments, this was also a big problem because of lack of internet facilities, lack of connectivity. Usually the labs are in basements, so it was all a question of technical problems, logistics. So again, the learning process was not, and I'm sorry to say that it was not mentioned in the media. In the media, what we got from the various administration entities انه العمليه التعليميه كانت تمام يعني وكانت ممتازه. I'm sorry to say انه this is not true. There were huge problems, and there are a lot of students, and we're going to notice this in the near future, who will graduate from various faculties and they have not really accomplished or achieved anything. And the exams, as I said, were all multiple choice in an hour-long exam. So you have 25 questions. The students used to answer them literally in 25 minutes and they leave. So the learning was not good enough. It was not up to the standard. And I think this is an issue that really has to be addressed. I was wondering about Dr. Ahmed Tolba at Mansoura University. Did you have any outlets for the students to use computers at the university if they don't have their own computers at home, for example?
Actually, we didn't have this, although I proposed this in 2006, that we make a large hall with 500 computers for such things, such that students can come and use them to bridge the hardware gap and the economic capabilities of the students, but it has not been done, unfortunately. And this is very important that the students have hardware to be capable of communicating, of using the technologies and so on. The problem, as you said, is the hardware facilities. Internet connectivity should be at the level which supports this online learning. The training of faculty members and students also to deal with this new learning environment is very important, but it is still far away. When we hear Mrs. Doaa Farag about tertiary learning or schools and the efforts they have done, it's promising because we have to use the bottom-up approach. With the digital natives, it's easier because they are accustomed to using the internet and smartphones and so on. And this will help in the near future to use it effectively. When the students go to the university, they are acquainted with the distant learning. This will help a lot. Another point, as we heard from Dr. Ashraf, about the assessment problems, the assessment is still a problem, as you said, that it's just superficial assessment like MCQs and bubble sheets and these things. This is very trivial assessment because students usually collect MCQs and they learn how to answer them and it is done, and they can pass the exams very easily. I made a trial in 2006. It was about the online oral exam, and we have developed a video conference system at Mansoura University for oral online exam. For example, I give the student, when the student logs in, he finds a very short question, and he has to answer it, and it will be saved as a video. The video answer of the oral answer is saved on the learning management system, and I think this will be much more effective than MCQs, because he has to speak and to answer in a short time, which does not give him the enough time to cheat or to ask somebody or and so on. And I think that oral assessment will help us solve a lot of problems in online learning. For example, if you are discussing the groups of students in the final graduation project, why not, as we are sitting now, we are we are talking with each other, and we can know if he knows how to solve the problem or not. It's easy to assess. Yani, I mean, the problem mainly depends on the hardware facilities, the seriousness of taking the online learning by the responsible people, by the universities and so on. زي ما حضرتك قلت بيستخفوا بينا وهم عارفين ان العمليه الكورونا وما الكورونا وهنبقى حنينين معاهم. وزي ما شفنا the Ministry of Education, you have to write a project of 2 or 3 pages and you will pass the course. So what? It is هنقول بتحطم everything. ما يصحش اما الطالب يستشعر ان احنا we are not taking it seriously is a huge problem. We have to tell him this is the only way, and we are going to go on for online learning and online teaching, and there is no other way. I think it should be much more effective than online than face-to-face education. It saves time. It saves هنقول ايه السكن، بتوفر السكن، النقل والمواصلات and so on. It saves a lot of expenditures. The major problem which we are trying to forget, if you are teaching face to face for the faculty of arts or faculty of law for 3,000 students, nobody comes. let us recognize the truth. No students come in the face-to-face teaching process. We are kidding ourselves. The major domain to apply the online learning and distance education or virtual education are these theoretical faculties: faculty of law, faculty of arts, the theoretical fields. Although in the Open University, the best programs which made good benefits from the online learning are the Faculty of Engineering. Faculty of Engineering at the Open University UK is ranked from the top 10 engineering faculties in UK. How come? It is a completely practical faculty. They send the lab kits. Each student will receive a lab kit with video recording of the explanation, and he takes it at home and he makes the experiments. He watches the videos. It's much better than going to the real lab for 3 hours. If 3 hours have passed, everything has gone. But with the training kit and the video recordings, he can see it many more times. He can, if he doesn't understand it for the first time, he repeats again and again. It's much more effective. There is huge benefits from distance learning and education if it is done properly and taken seriously.
Yes, I totally agree. Can I move on to ask Dr. Ashraf a question about you have a lot of training courses. I was just curious, are they in Arabic or all in English?
Okay, so I have two comments quickly, and I'll answer this question. It's a very interesting one. Okay, so for the questions raised by Dr. Ahmed, education in Egypt is an ecosystem, and it has a political side effect. It's not just education. It's education and it has a political pressure on the society, and society produces a political pressure on the decision makers. So everything comes together, and at the end you see what and you get what you see. It's not really what you expect or what you desire because of the huge pressure of the parents and the families on the decision makers. Main reason is you don't get punished if you don't pass. This is the main reason. If you get punished for not passing, then you'll be serious about studying. You'll be serious about getting to the internet, finding a connection, getting to the lecture, and so on. So the subsidized learning that the system that we have in Egypt is promoting the I don't want to say carelessness in the students' mind, because anyway, I'll pass. And if I don't pass, I'm staying in the university. I don't pay anything for that, so it's okay. So this is an important thing that we should even consider when we talk about ecosystem, because moving remote does not mean moving with less education. It means moving with more education, more resources, more sources for knowledge, and at the same time a strong certification and a better student at the end, a better caliber. So this is an important thing. So we have to take it holistically. It's an issue of Egypt, and I have to say it's not really the most thing. For SAP, we have a lot of training programs in SAP. Most of them are free. Some of them with certifications, and you pay for the exams to be certified. Since they are technical, many of them are technical. Some others are kind of building the capacity of different experts and different general audience, you can say. Then they are not for money. It's free, and they are in English because mainly the domain itself. I mean, I'll talk about the IT domain. Everyone, this is the language of the domain. I mean, it is not of value to have it in Arabic as a translation of technical terms of the expertise. And people, even who are in this domain, they are acquainted with the terms that are used in IT. So it's okay, it's fine. An important thing, maybe also that we need to check, is the business model for education, remote education or digital education. How we package Vodafone Foundation has done, how we package connectivity with devices, with content together, so it's affordable for students in many places. And I think the business model for Talim is an interesting thing that maybe we should hear about, and the usage of the platform itself, how many people are attending, how many got certified or have completed courses on that platform, and so on. So I think this is also something that the education system should benefit of and understand, because at the end it's not for free, and if we can get a balanced formula then the student will be quite how we say it, يعني هيكسب يعني he'll benefit from this he'll benefit from this packaging of the connectivity, hardware and content together.
Okay, just one last question to Doaa again. Is there any plan to work with higher education in terms of educational platform, something like Ta'alimi, or you're just going to be on schools?
Let me, yes, sure. So far, because we believe that there's a lot of work to be done yet with public school students and the teachers and the parents. So currently we're working so hard to make sure that we reach where we want to reach with the public school students. Nevertheless, we also want to make sure that the kind of content we are providing them, again, is for lifelong learning. So in terms of higher education, the part where we play a role is to provide with digital skills and digital literacy for anyone who's even at the university, but our focus is basically to develop the digital literacy skills of our students. So that's the main focus. If you may allow me also, Dr. Nadia, just to answer a couple of comments by Dr. Ashraf and Dr. Tolba as well about changing the mindsets of the students. I believe it is, of course, a cultural challenge. And I believe also that at Ta'alimi, at the Vodafone Egypt Foundation, we've also worked, there's also the same challenge to change the mindset, to make sure that they join our platform, that they study from our platform, and they access the resources we have. So to do that, we've also so far since Ta'alimi was launched, we've launched like several competitions for students to benefit from, and we provide them with incentives, and the incentives is usually a tablet to be able to study from. So we tell them, go on Ta'alimi, read as many books as you can from iLibrary books, and you'll be able to get a tablet from Vodafone. Go and take as many digital literacy courses as you can, and we also, of course, from our dashboard we can tell who took the courses and who finished it and so forth. So we're providing them with different incentives to encourage the online learning. And I think to incentivize this process, I think goes a long way with our students. In terms of the enrollment and how many people access our courses last year, again, we just launched last year. So during the past year, during the back to school campaign, and when students were studying online, we got around 70% enrollment rates in our, especially with our Doaa content, where students were accessing the teacher explanation videos, the assessments, and the summaries. So a 70% enrollment rate, again, was a little bit promising, but again, it comes with a lot of incentives, encouragement, communication messages, and campaigns to be able to encourage students to log in. We went on ground to different governorates with a truck, encouraging students to register on Ta'alimi and to join these courses. So again, there are lots of effort done behind this to be able to encourage the online educational journey.
Okay, thank you. I think that it's also something that we shouldn't really miss, is the fact that education is not just about content online. I think the educational experience is far richer than this. I'm talking about little children who, under the pandemic, they did not have the experience of going to school at all. So try to imagine a child in KG1 and KG2 just sitting in front of the screen. Although with the new kind of bringing up, we try to say it's not healthy, it's not good for children to look at mobile phones and to look at the television and to look at computers. So there has been a huge shift in a lot of things. And of course, we cannot ignore the social aspect, the behavioral aspect, the idea of working in teams, of being in a classroom, the human contact, the relationship with the teacher, not just as somebody on a screen, but as a human being. So I think a lot of things, no matter how excellent the content of the online learning is going to be, I think there is a dimension that it will always be lacking. And I think this is one of the main reasons why a lot of universities and a lot of schools in the West have decided that by September, they will go back to school. even if not on a daily basis. But they don't want to miss out on the idea of the discipline, the social life, the it's a whole, as I said, it's a whole experience. Going back to the university, I do agree with Dr. Ahmed that when we have large lecture halls with hundreds of students, that of course the learning experience is not very successful. However, uh, at least there was some kind of attendance, even if not the whole class attends, but the serious students will attend. Whereas with online, even the students who have the facilities, they have laptops at home, they have everything, but they don't attend. As you said, they don't take us seriously. They think, and also we were given instructions because we use a platform called Blackboard at Cairo University, that all the lectures have to be recorded. So the students, they just don't attend. They will listen to the lecture basically the day before the exam. And the whole thing was a farce. I'm sorry to say, but in many, many cases, no matter how hard the faculty tried, no matter how hard some students were serious, I'm not saying that all of them were not, but a big majority took the easy way out, that they will pass eventually, the exam is easy. يعني الموضوع كان يعني I hope in the, by next year there will be more seriousness and there will be much more effort in trying to, going back to Dr. Ashraf, to assess, to have good models to monitor the quality of taking exams. The exams have to be of a certain standard, and there has to be quality assurance in everything, or else the ranking of our universities is going to become worse if we don't really address these issues. Let me just see, maybe there is a question from the floor. Okay, John Ellis is asking, I'm going to read out the question. What do each of the speakers need to expand their respective programs to increase enrollment rates in 2021, 2022? So in other words, what are your plans if you want to expand your programs and to increase the number of people who are going to be enrolling either in Ta'limi or in the various programs offered by SAP? So what will you do? And also the question also to Dr. Ahmed Tolba, how are you going to try and make maybe your classes online more popular so that students will attend? What are the techniques that we can use in doing that? So
Can I start?
okay, could you please start, Dr. Ahmed?
Regarding the attendance management, I think it's very easy to solve, but the university administration has to abide by that. We can manage the attendance by the lists we have in this meeting. For example, we know who is attending, and we can make periodic checks if he is attending properly or he has attended by name and he went to the kitchen to drink coffee and so on. Attendance of management is very important, and it has to be seriously taken by the university management by applying the rules. If you don't attend for 25%, you will be dismissed from the class. If this is applied, they will take it
Yes,
seriously.
I agree.
The other point about the social dimension is already being solved by a long time ago by the Open University UK. The open education policy is that it is 75% online learning and 25% face-to-face meetings for considering the social aspects, for more discussions between the colleagues and themselves, students and their colleagues, students and teachers, and so on. There should be a blend of online and face-to-face to solve the social problems which could be a consequence of full online learning.
Okay.
I think it is, we have to take it seriously. Simply, if we take it seriously, the students will
Things
take it
will work
serious,
out.
and it will be much more effective than face to face or wholly face to face, whole face to face learning.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Ashraf, Doaa, who would like to, how are you going to expand whatever you're doing now, which is already a huge achievement, but how are you going, what are the plans to make it even more and more effective?
طيب بالنسبه ل SAP انا هاخد انت الاول. For SAP we have different programs as I mentioned. Most of the programs are accessible through our website sap.com, where you can look into and log into the system and get whatever course, get registered to whatever course and take it online. But we also have a University Alliance program. That's a program that is dedicated to universities and education institutions where we support instructors on specific areas of technology, and we also support students in specific areas of technology. And then we have a couple of alliances here in Egypt. We have Champs University, we have the Academy of
Academia al-Bahariya?
Again, Bahariya, yes, AAST. And we are working also with the Cairo University. It's not finalized yet, but we started working with them. So we have different programs, different allied universities that we are working with in this program. And it's very, very fruitful one because it introduces technologies, the new technologies to students and to the instructors in specific areas where SAP is pioneering. Another thing that is the YPP program is the Youth Professionals Program. This is something we are doing with the ITI, with the Ministry of ICT, where we are supporting 50 graduates in the different areas of consultation that we are working on as SAP. So they get certified through this program to become an SAP consultant in specific areas like ERP, like supply chain, and so on. So we have this also in place with the ITI. Of course, you can do it with other institutions if they like to do that. For the Supreme Council of Universities, we don't do much yet with them, but since you mentioned that they have to have a vision, I think Dr. Ibrahim in the Supreme Council, they are now working domain. I think for the medical students, they are working on that. So there's something going on with the Supreme Council for Universities along the direction of assessment. Yeah, you are mute.
No, I said this is excellent. So we are getting there. And I'm glad that the Supreme Council of Universities will start addressing these issues. So that's very important.
Yeah.
Okay, Mrs. Doaa, for a final comment, please.
Yes, before I just answer the question, I also would like to confirm what you were saying, Dr. Nadia and Dr. Tolba as well, regarding complementing each other. Online learning definitely does not exclude the face-to-face instruction, but it complements it. I think online learning is very important. It's vital. It saves money. All the content we're providing on Talim is for free, so it's going to save money from getting different certifications elsewhere. It saves time from going to different centers or different private tutoring. So it's just complementing the traditional instruction form, not replacing it. It's just complementing it. As for the question, our plans for expansion is that we want to provide, now that we have high enrollment rates for education through Doaa content that we have, we want to make sure that we're providing students with all the different skills they need to thrive in this economic world and thrive in this digital world. So not just besides the digital literacy, we plan to have financial literacy courses as well. We have lots of things in the kitchen with like the Egyptian Banking Institute. We plan to have career advising courses as well, so that students realize their potential and their interests when they join university and what they want to do when they grow up. So we have all different kinds of content and courses to be able to encourage students to join Ta'alimi and to be able to benefit and enrich their skills even further. In addition to the content, just like I was saying earlier, because it's also there's part of the hardware and the connectivity. So to increase registration and enrollment, we also plan to kick off many partnerships and activations through our platform to be able to encourage more students to join. That can be done through competitions, just like we went when we launched Ta'alimi in the schools, the different governorates to increase registration. So, and now in the orphanages with the Ministry of Social Solidarity. So we want to make sure that we are reaching different governorates and reaching as many students as we possibly can, along with teachers and parents, with our partners, because again, we're a technology company, we have the reach, we have technological expertise, but we need different partners to be able to achieve our dream and fulfill our objectives. In addition to that as well, I wanted to point out that through Ta'alimi as well, we are doing the competitions that I mentioned earlier and the reach as well for our students, and the professional development courses that we have for our teachers will kind of, how do I say, bridge the gap that is currently there for the online teaching as well, to be able to make sure that we reach a mainstream of online education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was really a very comprehensive survey of what you're about to do and what you have already achieved. We have another question from the floor from John Ellis, and he's specifically asking the three of you, how can the private sector help you in terms of what do you need? Do you need more money, more computers, more IT help developing new programs, more teachers? What are the resources that you need that will help you sort of improve more? I think some of you already answered this question, but how can we all work together to fulfill the needs of each of our sectors? It's a very ambitious question, but here it is.
Challenging. Can I say something?
Yes, sure.
Actually, the problem of, as it is in the technology, the lack of standardization. If there is a worldwide association which groups all these players together and tries to standardize the online learning process and teaching, I think of let us see, I can think of huge possibilities which is available worldwide at Coursera, at Udacity, and at many other platforms which is supported by the major education players in the world, with excellent courses available here and there. There should be an association which combines all these under one umbrella, and such that they can, instead of competing, they can collaborate to produce a standard for online learning and boost it. This is number one, standardization, such that there is no many islands of many players everywhere. But I don't think that these companies could provide incentives or hardware or something like this. I think we cannot ask them to for that. This is my notes about this question.
Okay, Mrs. Doaa, I think you would like to interfere here.
Well, as the private sector, because we're talking from the private sector part. So again, the partnerships, definitely we have, increasing the partnerships will definitely help us reach where we want to reach. And I have to say, Dr. Tolba, as well, partnerships even with hardware companies as well helps a lot. This is what we do to be able to extend like the competitions we partner with hardware companies to be able to deliver the tablets, and it is also part of their own CSR. So when we partner with different institutions, whether from the private sector or the public sector, that have the same CSR value and they have the same mission and vision towards digitalization in education, we can definitely be able to provide not just the content and the hardware and the connectivity. So I think different players, as you just said, not competing, but working together can definitely achieve that goal of digitalization in Egypt, hopefully.
And finally, Dr. Ashraf.
I think the issue is about adoption. We should adopt this remote learning platforms, and I think this will help delivering more content. Producing more content or partnering with more content providers, and at the same time delivering content in a digital format. Not only that, but in a digital ecosystem, not just a platform for the digitalization. And another thing, it helps the society to understand that this is the way to move forward. It's not, I'm talking only about universities and schools, but I'm talking also about private sector employees and vocational training and people who need to get acquainted with new technologies and new techniques that are developing every day, not even every year. So for these guys, they need to have continuous education. This should be the way to do that. So I think adoption is very important. If we can do that, we have the platforms as technology companies, but it might be of reasonable prices if you talk about using public cloud for delivering the content. But at the same time, we need the adoption from the society itself and different players in society.
Okay, thank you very much for everything that was said. I think that obviously there is a lot of awareness about how we can make things better. There is a lot of challenges, but as I said, in a reasonably short time, a lot has been achieved. There is a lot of awareness from the private sector and the public sector that education is the savior of future generations. It's the savior of our country. So there will be a lot of effort put into that. And as I said, the social aspect or the human aspect, the cultural aspect, these are things that have to be done through teachers, through family members, parents, by trying to discipline their children that online learning is serious. They have to look at their screen. They have to listen to the teacher. I mean, it's a whole package. And at the end of the day, the problems that we faced were faced also elsewhere in more affluent countries, in countries that maybe had better internet connections. They were more privileged in terms of people having computers at home. But again, they faced a lot of similar problems. So I think there is a lot of hope that there will be success stories next year. University will improve in terms of taking things more seriously, both from the faculty, the administration on one hand, and the students on the other. And we feel very proud that we have entities like Vodafone and like SAP who are doing all this very hard work to help with education. We don't have any more comments from the floor. So I would like to thank Biba very much for giving us this chance. And I would like to thank very much Dr. Ahmed Tolba, Dr. Ashraf, Mrs. Doaa Farag from Vodafone. Thank you very, very much for a very useful, informative session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Please do
Nadia, you were a great moderator, and thank you all for a very interactive and interesting session. I'm
Thank you
sure
very
we're going to organize follow-up session on that. Yesterday, we had a session on investment in education, and they were talking about a number of challenges facing the students when they go and looking for jobs. So the labor force is an important component, and they start in universities. So again, educators have an important role to play. So thank you again for everything, and we look forward to seeing you very soon in one of Viva's forthcoming events.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.